What is going what is going on, my friends? This is Dave Sharpe. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. It is November 18th, 2024, and I know that only because yesterday, my dear friends, was my birthday, November 17th. It was a day to remember, a very special day. It was made very special, and I'm feeling so happy, feeling so grateful. And it's a great way to roll into this weekend or this week with this amazing guest, a friend, a guy, a gentleman who many of you know and love. I certainly know and love him. Have watched him, grow in this business, in this industry, and really execute on these core four business models that we teach here at Legendary. Pretty awesomely, pretty masterfully. And he's, of course, always learning and growing. That's what we love about him. With that being said, please help me welcome back to the show for, I believe, the sixth time, my Lord, Sean Sarantos. What's up, brother?
Good morning. And I'm going to say happy birthday to you because I'm sure everyone in the comments is saying happy birthday to you. So to be 25 again,
I know, brother. It's a beautiful thing. It feels great. I'm actually aging in reverse. I'm cracking codes over here. Don't be fooled by all the gray. I'm retaining all the wisdom while reversing the physical, some of the other elements, but just the must remain gray. You're very black still.
No, I got gray. You just can't really see it. Not right here. My chest is getting gray. It's weird.
Look at the difference in our beard colors, though. Just take your hand away from your beard for a second. That is some beautiful black beard hair, bro. Okay.
Now,
I see
I'm Asian, so the fact that I can grow a beard, it's just chin and Fu Manchu, and then I just let the Fu Manchu just roll over and create a beard.
You're how old?
I am 38.
Okay, well, that's weird being 25, you being 38, that our beard colors are what they are, but sometimes some of us get gray a lot earlier than others.
I got Jackie Chan syndrome. I'm just aging in reverse like you. Huh?
All right, my friends. Well, thank you. It really was my birthday yesterday. I turned 41, and it was great. It was great, and I'm happy to have another opportunity to take another trip around the world. I want to thank everybody, especially these people who I have listed. No, this is not a Grammy or anything, but let's talk about you, brother. A lot of people know your story, and they've heard, and many of them follow you, and you've been kind of doing this now consistently, which is awesome. I'm pretty sure this is your full-time business, right? At this point. So you're doing it full time and have been doing it full time for how long? Because I feel remember there was a time where there was a job.
Yes, there was. So I think I've been doing this for roughly 3 years, and I would say probably the first 3 months I did have a full-time job while doing it, working on power lines. And then I at that 3-month mark when I was somewhat matching what I was making, I just kind of made that decision to burn the boats and go all in on it, which I do not recommend. But, I have been doing that for close to 3 years now.
Nice. And so so that means you've got about we could say roughly 3 years in this.
Yeah.
3 years and some change.
Mm-hmm.
And take us back to when you started. What was life like for you then, and why was this something you either wanted to try or you needed to make work?
Life was, I'm not going to say life was bad. Life was pretty decent at that time. I had a good job. I was making great money. It was a safe route, which is the whole reason why I went down that route. But it was a route that wasn't allowing me. I mean, you come from a blue collar background, so you understand this. That route is a very lonely route where you're the provider, you're the supporter, you're the everything for your family. But the one thing that you're not is present, right? And that's kind of where I was at the time. I was about 4 or 5 years into that field, and I just wasn't seeing my family. Just had a kid, and it was just not happening. So what I noticed was any free time that I had, I was just sitting on social media, just wasting my time with it. Just like, oh, 15 minutes are over, 30 minutes are over. So I started just making a decision to say, like, well, if I'm gonna do something on social media, can I find anything, just something that could make me a little bit of extra money that could possibly not then require me to work like all the overtime that I'm working. You know what I mean? I wasn't trying to make it take my job away. My job was a great job. I was just trying to like free up 1 or 2 days out of the week. That was it. So that's when I started actually paying attention to what I was looking at on social media. Things were coming up at that time where it was just like, the basic post where it's like, hey, 2 hours a day and you could, make your entire salary or something like that. Those types of posts were, things that made my eyes roll. But there was a streak of posts at one time where Legendary was always at the tail end of something, right? Where it was just like, hey, I'm nobody special. I learned this, I learned that there was options out there, and now I'm able to free up some time. Or some people were, like completely changing their life and doing something different. I came across one person, I think his name was Lance, and he was a Air Force veteran like myself. And I watched a very in-depth YouTube video that he did, and he was talking about Legendary. And he did it in a way that made sense to me. He was like, hey, like, I saved up a year's worth of salary, and then I also made sure that I was making double the amount of salary before I even thought about leaving my job. And I was like, well, that makes sense. You know what I mean? That was a smarter thing than some other people posting like, I left my job and now I'm living everything I ever wanted. So that was the final thing that made me go like, all right, next time I see something pop up, I'm gonna give it a try, right? And then it just so happened that I saw something pop up, and I gave the 15-day challenge a try. I learned a whole bunch of stuff that made sense to me, because I did use social media previously before I got into the trades for fitness. And I was a personal trainer. So there were automatically things that just made sense to me. And I was like, well, things are clicking. So now I know that it works. What else? What else can I learn that I just did not understand when I used to use social media? And that kind of got the ball rolling, a very easy, slow pace, because I still was working full time. But before I knew it, I would make a little bit of extra money here and there on the side. And then all of a sudden, 1 month or something like that, I got really close to matching my salary, just putting all my time towards the weekends learning this stuff. And that was kind of that moment where I go like, well, if I'm putting in 4 hours a week into this, and I'm putting 80 to 100 hours a week into this, and it's still matching up, what can I do if I gave it, 8 hours a week or something like that? That was a really rough time in our life, because my father-in-law was passing away. And that was kind of the final straw that gave me that push, because talking to my father-in-law, he was very much in the, I wish I would have took more chances, that sort of deal. And that kind of was just like, all right, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to give it all, right? And I quit my job and burned the boats, like really burned the boats, made sure I couldn't go back, and then from there, it was just like, hey, you're in it now. Got to figure it out. And it's been a crazy, crazy ride, but I absolutely have loved it. I'm learning something every single day. I was writing something out when I was talking to Joanne before this, because I'm always trying to learn something and test something out. Because social media is changing every single day. So things that were really, really good last week can be dead this week, and you always got to be able to explain the new thing. So I love it. That's kind of how it's been for the past 3 years, where I just get to help out as many people as possible. And the more that I help, the better God provides. You know what I mean?
Great story. And I was struck by a couple of things that you said. Your father-in-law was dying, and he was taught it's like you were around him when that was happening, and you were having conversations with either him directly, or you heard him talking to his kids, and he was making mention of either directly or indirectly about taking risk, and that was something that you took as a sign during that time. Can you what
Yeah.
with that?
Um,
That sounds interesting.
yeah, it he was in a bad place. They said that he was going to be passing away and that we should say our goodbyes. Um, so we went and said our goodbyes, and then a few hours later he had a bounce back, and they were like, hey, I think he's going to pull through, like if you want to come talk to him, because he wasn't able to talk at the time. He was on the ventilator and stuff. So then we came back, me and my wife came back, and he was great. He was just like, oh, I feel great. And like, he he was an accountant for a very long time, but he wanted to be like a bass player for, and had all these things that he wanted to do. And that's kind of what he was saying. He was just like, when I get out of here, we're going to take trips. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Like he's going to be like, because he had only been retired for maybe like 2 or 3 years after working until he was like 60 something. He was like, we're going to take advantage of this, and we're just going to go places. And I was like, yeah, great. And basically, yeah, he was saying that too. He was just like, I wasted enough time, we're going to do stuff. And we said, we left the hospital, and a few hours later he passed.
Oh
So
my! Oh,
um so that was something that clicked to me, because I was taking time off of work to be there for my wife. So
yeah,
this was that moment where there was 2 weeks where I was just there for my wife. You know what I mean? And if my wife was with her family and I was off to taking care of the kid, then I was just sitting there. And that was that moment where I was just like, okay, like this is it. Let's see what I can do in these last few days that I'm taking off of work and being there for the wife. Let's see if that free time in between, I'm going to really, really try to understand this stuff. And in that short, teeny, tiny amount of time that I was actually able to do stuff, that was when things started picking up on that end. So it was like, is this something that's happening? Did I need to hear that from him
yeah.
while seeing these results come from a small amount of portion? And that kind of gave me that final push, that as soon as I went back to work, that was my last day at work. You know what I mean? I was just
Wow.
like, hey, I had a really great time, really appreciate it, but yeah, this is goodbye, right? And then when I left, I was just like, oh,
Bridge piece. That was another question that I had. Did
I'll
you
get to
try to burn the bridges at your job so you could never go back, or
yeah.
was maybe a misstep on your part that you look back and you say, "Hey, I." But in a way, there was a gift inside of that curse. Like, say more about
Yeah.
that situation.
So I left on good terms. And then when I left on good terms, and this is why I say I don't recommend anything that I'm talking about at the time. Um, Leaving on good terms was also me possibly leaving a safety net, right? And I was just like, I kept on thinking about that in the back of my head, which was like, hey, if this doesn't work out, I can always go back to this, and I was already saying that before I even tried. So I was just like, no, well, like I'm setting myself up. Um, so I had issues with some people from work, you know what I mean, with certain guys. And I forgot some tools. So I went back, and then I let those issues be known before I left. You know what I mean? And that was kind of my deal, which was like, I went back and I said my piece, right, to the people that I felt were abusing their power at the time. Um, and that was really not what they wanted to hear. So that was when I really kind of burned the bridges and was like, you know what, I'm going to leave on my terms, not on good terms. I'm going to leave on my terms. And if people don't like that, then people don't like that, and we'll see how it goes. And it didn't go well for them, at least. So needless to say, that was me making sure that I absolutely burned the bridges and made sure that there wasn't a way to come back when it came to that specific position with those specific people, right?
Yeah,
And I wanted to make sure that if I was going to give myself any kind of safety net, it was still a hard net to find. I didn't want to be like, oh, yay, and then just like fall right into it. Like, no, like if I'm choosing a hard path, then it has to be a hard path to go back to as well. So that way it doesn't become an easy choice when stuff gets hard. I can't be like, oh, it's so easy, let me just go back here. No, that's going to be hard too. So you better pick your poison here, So that's how I did it.
And did you have, as many have heard money gurus like Dave
Ramsey
say,
yeah.
you have 6 months of savings at all time, and all these baby steps to financial success. Did you have any other sort of safety nets? Did you have savings at that time? Did you have anything else that would have given you a sense of security as you transitioned, or were you really stepping out, taking a major leap of faith?
I was very much stepping out. We probably had maybe 2 months saved up at that time to get us through. And we lived in California at the time. And what we decided to do was when I made that decision, we decided to sell the house, and then go to a different state to at least say, hey, if we sell the house, then we can at least like live off of what we make off the house for a little bit, right? But then that's when the housing market turned as well, so it took a little bit longer than you should have. So that kind of put me in a place too, and like everything that happened exactly how it had to happen, right? If we would have sold the house right then and there, like some people were doing in our neighborhood, then I would have had a cushion again, right? And I would have. I'm not saying I would have, but I easily could have just fallen into this. Well, we have like $200,000 from the house, right? So we're good. I don't really have to put too much effort into this. So it was one of those things where we had a kid and we were pregnant again too. So it was definitely throwing ourselves into that boiler where it was just like, all right, like it's do or die or this stuff. So to say that I was definitely in the cooker at that time, and that's all right. I thrive in that position, but once again, like I do not recommend that when people hear my story. I've said this before in other Wake Up Legendaries. I hate that that's how I thrive. Absolutely
Well,
hate it, right?
how do you think that you got like that? And I do think being able to handle, I do think that raising your ability to deal with stress and frustration is a key element of being successful in business, and just really being a calm, persuasive person that executes and is able to navigate life pretty smoothly. You don't allow things, you can handle a significant amount of frustration. For me, for example, I know that I can handle a significant amount of frustration because not only have I done that in previous things like baseball when I was a young kid, business throughout my young and middle life adulthood, and then I also have small children.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to tell you something.
There it is. There's that half row.
And that's for me and you. The dads out there that are getting their patience tested every day, right? It's a great indicator of where your ability to be able to handle frustration is. But you can handle pressure and stress. Where do you think you develop that, and how do you think somebody can develop it if maybe they don't recognize that in themselves as a strength?
I definitely think I got it from my father. My father was, this is nothing against my mother. I love my mother, obviously. But she did leave us out of the blue at a very young age. And my father was in the military and he was working like 14-hour shifts, and he kind of got thrown into the mix as well. It was like, hey, bye. And then I'm here with two boys that are like 6 and 8, right? So I get that from him because I definitely know that it stressed him out, right? Like he had to go on tours as well during that time, and we had to be like latchkey kids. So, seeing that growing up was something that definitely ingrained in me a lot of things. But I also don't know if that just internally made me have to also put myself in extreme situations to then see if I could, sink or swim, right? Personally, here's how I would do it. Okay. If I were speaking to somebody that didn't have that type of background. I would test out that limitation in an area that wouldn't affect your life in a really, really, really humongously bad way if you were to fail. You know, like, don't quit your job and then go do something else and then be like, hey, I got to do this. It's more along the lines of, if in the fitness world, if I could sit there on my couch eating chips and get motivated and be like, man, I'm a fat piece of crap, I need to do something, right? I'm motivated right here, right now to go run. Okay, can you do that exact same thing when you're not a fat piece of crap and you're not, feeling terrible about what you just put into your body? Can you do that at 4 a.m. and still tell yourself that you need to do better and this and that? So that's something where you can just fail every day and then restart the next day, and then you got to kind of build that callus in your mind, right? Those are the types of things that I would start off with first, the things that you have absolute control over, that then you can go ahead and slowly look at yourself in the mirror, admit that you messed up, admit that you could be stronger. I had this talk with my wife yesterday. I was like, man, I feel like crap. I tell myself I'm gonna wake up at 4 a.m. every day, and I'm like, half and half right now this week. You need to kick me out of the bed, and when my alarm goes off. And that's something that I have full control over. Am I going to lose out on that? No, I could work out later in the day. I absolutely can. But I don't want to use that excuse that I can do it later. I told myself I'd do it now. And I know I told myself I'd do it now. And not only then, I told myself the night before, hey, man, if you don't do it, you better feel like crap. And it's like, yeah, I do feel like crap. I didn't wake up. I didn't do it this morning. I feel like crap talking to you about it, right? But that's something that I can hold my feet to the fire on later, as opposed to putting myself in that extreme like I did before when it came to a job. So if this is brand new to you, yeah, that's why I say I don't recommend that you'd go to the extreme like I did. That's something that I grew up on that I assumed had to happen. If you have control over things, start small. Start with reading a book. Start with working out. Start with playing with your kids. You'd be surprised how much time you're wasting on the phone and not playing with your kids. I have that same thing. And as long as you go ahead and set something up that you can then tell yourself, why am I trying to do this and how will I feel if I don't achieve it? As long as you can do that, when you don't achieve it, hopefully you can take that negative feeling that you have to then kind of rekindle the fire to make sure that you do it the next day, right? That's how people gain a lot of weight over an X amount of time. You don't just become fat overnight, you don't become fit overnight. It's extended periods of time of failing, right, and falling short. So the same thing is here. As long as you know that you're falling short, you can go ahead and look in the mirror the next day, and ask yourself, like, does it really matter to you? If it doesn't, then just admit to it now. But if it does, what are we doing here? What are you going to do to change that? And if you start achieving that, it rolls over. It rolls over. It rolls over into the next challenge. Well, fitness was easy, mental discipline and all that stuff. Well, now I'm going to put that mental discipline into learning this new thing, right? And once I start learning that new thing, I know I'm going to suck at it in the beginning, just like I sucked at this other thing, and then I'm going to get better. And it's just a building block, but you can't start on the hardest block to build, right? Start on some of the easier blocks to build, because if you're having a hard time on the easy blocks, what makes you think that you're going to achieve the harder one? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very logical, sensical approach. I tend to be an extremist and throw myself right into the deep end, because I think there's a certain amount of excitement I get from that. There's a certain amount I get from that overwhelm and that pressure. And I think that, I'd rather just fail fast, than take a whole long time to learn a simple lesson.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just fail really, really fast. And then eventually I realized that none of it was failure. It was all just feedback. It all was just helping me to learn what not to do. And it's really, learning becomes fun. I think for a lot of people who come into this, it's a little bit, you're on your own time. It kind of feels like a hobby, right? Because it's like, I'm doing it, no money's coming in at the beginning, I'm only spending. That's what a hobby looks like. Hobby doesn't make you money. That's a business.
Yep.
A hobby is something you do and don't make money. A business is something that makes you money. Now, a lot of people have businesses that are hobbies. They call them businesses. They say, "Oh, I'm in a restaurant business." No, you're not. Your hobby is going to that building and wasting your time. And you see it in sometimes Chef Ramsay, right? The Kitchen Nightmares, where that he went to business and it's $500,000 in debt with no, and he's just like, what the hell are you doing here, right? So no business is a hobby for the most part. All hobbies, or there's a lot of businesses that people try to run as businesses, but are hobbies. And because if it's a business because you're treating it like a business, right?
Yep.
And so that means that, you got to move fast and you got to break things and you got to be okay with and I think this is a huge thing. Although I wonder how you handle this. You got to depersonalize a lot of things. And so many of us, because we're building and playing with our own personal brand, being our own face that we put out there, we take a lot of the feedback, whether it be low video counts, low or negative comments, whatever it is, we take that as a personal attack, in that there's something wrong with us, and then we take it personally, have more feelings around it, and are less likely to continue testing and building and marketing and doing the things that we need to move our business forward. You've built a personal brand pretty much the entire time I've known you, for 3 years. It's always been your face. It's never been faceless Sean. How have you dealt with some of the rejection that we all face for marketing without taking it personal and keeping it from you, and it keeping you from moving forward and doing what you need to do to grow your business?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I tell myself, and this is stuff that I tell my audience all the time too, right? Yeah, I built my personal brand because the more that you build a personal brand in the beginning, the more options that you have. If I was a faceless account, then I'm closing a lot of doors on not only my skill set, but what I can do for my account outside of just what I post, right? If I want to work with collaborators or sponsors, they're not realistically going to want to work with a faceless account. They're going to want to put a face with the account. The hard part that I had to deal with in the beginning, that I definitely learned from, and that I definitely try to tell people now, is I'm a business account under the guise of personal, right? Like, I want it to feel personal. I want it to come off personal. I want all of those things to be, but that's the whole point. It's a business, and my skill set is, how can I understand how to add a personal touch? Because a lot of the issues that people have is they sound too salesy, or they sound too robotic, or they sound too informative, and you lose that personal touch and you just get that dryness. And that's what people lose, right? When they don't have that personal touch, it's what they fall short on. The way that I get through it, because I certainly test out certain content that can cause a stir in people's emotions and reactions, but I know I know exactly what I'm posting. So if I get something bad back to me, I should have already known that that could have happened, right? So these are the differences that I have, is like, when I make a piece of content, I should know the best type of thing that can happen and the worst type of thing that can happen, so that when either one of them happens, I shouldn't be surprised. I just take note. Oh, more bad happened than good. Maybe I'll steer clear of that. But at the end of the day, it's always the same thing. It's always, hey, don't take it personal, because this isn't a personal account. This is a business account, right? I'm the brand. Yes. I'm the face of it. Yes. Right. But at the end of the day, you should already know that you're not going to get 100% of people that like your content. I could put a video of babies playing with puppies, and someone would get mad at the puppy licking the baby's face, or the baby playing too rough with the puppy. Like, no one's going to be pleased. And as long as I know exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and it has nothing to do with me trying to show you my personal life, right? If I'm showing you something about my personal life, there's a business reason behind it, right? And I'm testing that theory out. As long as I keep that in the back of my mind all the time, right? It definitely helps keep that shield strong, right? obviously things get through. It's not always going to work, and I let that happen too. But it's certainly when things get through and then I find myself overwhelmed with emotion, that's me being able to go ahead and take a step back and be like, wait, wait, wait. Why am I allowing myself to get emotional? This is a personal account. So even when things do get to me, that's just another warning sign coming off, allowing me to remember what the heck this account is here for, right? So automatically putting up those specific shields, it allows me to know what I'm doing. And that goes from me starting a brand new account to, hey, what do I want this account to become? What am I posting? Right? I'm not a big believer anymore of just posting stuff and seeing what sticks. That was something that I did in the beginning because I didn't know what to post or what was sticky or not, right? Now that I've gone through that, when I do talk to people, I'm like, no, never post something to see what sticks. Always post something that you at least have thought out, thought out before you post. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? But what are we looking for when it gets posted so we don't get confused when someone goes, oh, I got my first hate comment. I don't know if I want to do this. And it's like, well, what did you expect when you posted something that could possibly get hate and or love? You be no problem. You get 100 messages saying, oh, you go girl, you go boy, whatever. You get 100 of those and you won't even say thank you. You get one person that says you suck and you're like, oh, the world's over, right? My dad used to say it all the time. It's like for work when I joined the military. He goes like, one oh shit, right? One oh shit overshadows 1,000 good jobs, right? So like we got to stop focusing on that oh shit, right? And realize that, hey, this is a job. You know what I mean?
A great point.
Yeah.
Really great point. And so let's talk a little bit about your learning lessons and how at the beginning you would throw more spaghetti at the wall, but now you have more of an idea of what you are posting, who you are targeting, and what some of those potential reactions could be. You know, somebody came through the comment section earlier and said, "Oh, I see him on Facebook. He's so hilarious." Which is funny because I bet that's something you've intentionally said you were going to create and there's no doubt because I see it in your comment or in your content. You're gonna try to create funny stuff, stuff that's funny. I mean, one of your videos, you know that I think has gone the most viral on your page is where you're sitting there with a tear in your eye.
Oh gosh, I just talked to Joanne about this one.
The caption said, I'd love to give my wife everything in the world, but unfortunately the only thing I can give her is this little baby wiener. um I mean, it's just so talk to us a little bit about how a piece of content like that fits in to a page and gets you the audience and the target customer that you are looking for, or are you not always looking for your target customer? Are you also just looking to build fill your page with likes to grow your audience as well, grow some of those kind of cosmetic details, if you will, of having more followers to create more authority and more, brand authority? Talk to us a little bit about your target audience and who you're targeting, and make it make sense for everybody who's listening about when what your kind of system or strategy is now after 3 years of no longer it all being guesswork for you.
Yeah. I'll break it down exactly how it went and what I'm currently doing right now, so you guys have the bigger picture, right? I think the biggest thing that I hate is when people talk about what they're doing right here, right now, right, to an audience that's on their first day. So I'm not going to tell you on what I'm doing on year 3 and expect you to jump in on my year 3 when you're on day 1, right? I don't want you guys to be confused and be like, well, I'm doing what Sean is doing. No, you're doing what Sean's doing 3 years, down the road, not what he did at the beginning. So what I did at the beginning was I was very much in the make money online, understanding what the heck it was. I niched down. I was very hard on it, right? I was trying my best to try to find all the different ways that you can make money online in that world, right? So that's what I was trying to learn first and foremost, because I was brand new to all of it. So my entire account in the very beginning, if you scroll down on my 3,000 posts, you're going to be able to visually see exactly what I'm talking about. Everything that I'm talking about right now, you can literally see it after I'm said and done, right? In the beginning, I was all MMO because I didn't understand MMO. I didn't understand all the different ways that you can make money online. So basically, all of my content was showing you all the different ways that you can make money online. And how I could get better at presenting these ways, right? Do I do talking? Do I do joking? Do I do dancing? Do I do, pain points? Do I do all this stuff? And it was me trying to find a pattern of what worked with that specific type of content. Now, after I had success in that, right, I took what I learned in that, and then I said, okay, I want to take the skill set that I learned in presentation and present something else, which is now, well, what skill sets can you learn, right, online? I don't want to just say ways to make money online. Now I want to go ahead and showcase skill sets online that could make money. So copywriting, understanding trending music, social media management, things like that. So the second phase that I went into was took what I learned from phase one, use it in a different niche, right? So now a content creator type of niche, right? And then see if I couldn't then help people understand, instead of just saying Shopify will pay you, now start explaining the skills that you would use on Shopify that could pay you, right? Or else people are just going to sign up for Shopify and expect to make money. Well, now it's like, no, if you were to use Shopify, what skills would help you get paid? So now I was focusing on that for a while, right? And I had a good long while where that was going great. But even that still kind of pigeonholed me into an area of I can only talk to very specific people on the internet right now. I can only talk to people that are definitely using social media right here, right now for this specific reason. And it slowly allowed me to add a personal touch because now I could start becoming an authority, right? I've had success in certain areas. I could speak from an authoritative different standpoint, but it also still didn't allow me to add that personal touch, right? It was like I wanted to kind of like emulate like a Kobe type of reference. Was like Kobe is known for being this really, really hardcore basketball player, but also he's very much on the personal side. He's a dad, he's this, he's that, right? And I was missing that portion of my life at that time when it came to social media. I was very much business first all the time, and it wasn't allowing me to grow my community, right? I was growing it at a snail's pace. So now I said, okay, well, I want to start adding a personal touch to this and let people know that I'm a human being and I'm not just this person that talks business all the time. So that's when I started slowly adding the family environment. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, right? And I was testing it out on TikTok. So I started a TikTok and I just went full crazy mode, just doing family type of content to get better at that. So I didn't just switch over my entire account, right? I took what I was learning over here. And then when I had success on this end, I slowly started trickling in like family post every 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4, and just slowly started implementing it. And then what I found out through that was, well, when I started adding that into the equation, well, all of a sudden I had sponsorships and collaborations, and those things were reaching out to me because now my account was becoming open general, right? I like to use the example of like a Costco, right? Right now, I was a Best Buy or a grocery store. You go to Best Buy, you're going there for a very specific thing. You go to a grocery store, you're going there for a very specific thing. You go to Costco, I don't know what the heck you're going there for, right? I say it all the time. You can go there for groceries, pants, a pergola, a cruise, whatever. And I wanted to start becoming a Costco where it was just like, hey, I want to open it up for skill set. I want to know for sponsorships, collaborations, everything, right? So now I started testing out, well, what type of account would do that, right? And typically lifestyle was going to give me the best part because anything sold at Costco, I use in my life, right? So that's when I started going ahead and saying, okay, this content's doing good. My account is starting to show that that's who I am. So now I'm going to start going down on the business posts and going up on this other type of post, allowing me to stand out more. I could still show my skill set, but I opened up a lot more doors with who I could talk to. And I was very specific with who my customer was. My customer was the Costco customer. My customer was that 35 to 55-year-old person that walks in there, because we don't have a 15-year-old walking into Costco, right? We don't have the 80-year-old walking into Costco. But I got the 30-year-old that's buying diapers for their baby, and I got the 55-year-old that's buying diapers for their mom or dad, right? So it still works, and that's like that perfect person. So now my content was starting to try to narrow down, well, what type of content speaks to that specific demographic that I fall into, that you fall into, right? And that's when I got it to really, really hunker down on my skill set, because now my content was based purely on skill set. It wasn't highlighting it wasn't highlighting skills, and wasn't highlighting ways to make money. It was highlighting, I think that this type of content is going to work best for this type of person. I think that this type of content is going to work best for this type of person, right? And typically I wanted to fall within that age demographic, because when I was ready to ask something or present something, I wanted it to be to an age demographic that related to me, because the very first thing that I wanted to make was that connection of relatability. If I can go ahead and break down that little shield of relatability, hopefully it would then allow them to listen to me with what I had to say, right? And I had to be able to do that through showing up on my account every day. Because if I would have done the exact same content that I'm doing now and never showed my face, no one's going to trust me. I would gain 500,000 followers, and on that 500,000 followers, all of a sudden I show my face and I'm like, hey guys, this is my face, trust me. And they'd be like, I've never seen you before, right? So these were all specific things to get to where I'm at right now, which is I create content that I am literally testing out and saying, notice that you said humor. Well, it didn't start off as humor. It started off as really, really kind of like gut-wrenching content where the person would be like, man, I'm really sad. I want to see my kid. I missed his birthday. And it was kind of like, wee, right? And then every so often I was like, I throw in a joke. I threw in a joke in there one time. It was a Nickelback joke. And that was like my very first viral video. And I'm like, huh? Like Nickelback. But it had to deal with nostalgia. And the only people that understood Nickelback the way that I understood Nickelback was people my age. So then I started finding that pattern, going like, oh, well, maybe I'll throw this in every so often. And then what I found out was, hey, you know what? You know what type of content typically does really, really well? It's relatable content. But humorous relatable content does way better than emotional relatable content. So the only reason I do more humor right now isn't because I love humor, right? It's because my skill set has taught me I have a better chance at getting more engagement, getting more likes, getting more follows, and it opens up the array of content that I can talk to that specific demographic. Because I might find a 35-year-old that doesn't have a child, that isn't married, right? Where this type of content, the emotional type of content, has to talk to the person that's my age that has a child or is married. So I was consistently finding all these things.
I want to say that it seems like the more complicated the strategy, the simpler the content. And your content literally reuses the same or similar pieces of B-roll over and over again that you probably have just on your phone, where others are recording a 30-second talking head video 50 times and are frustrated and never post it because they don't like it. How has your content, in your own words, gotten more simpler even as your strategy has become more complicated?
Yeah. And so if the strategy becomes complicated, I want it to be complicated in the areas that it needs to be complicated in, right? So if I'm going to be putting time towards this, I want to put the time where it is absolutely non-negotiably needed, right? So doing a talk with you, I gotta be here. We got to be talking. There has to be time put towards this, right? Doing a speaking video. Anytime that I can find a way to simplify content, reusing B-roll stuff, right? Even repurposing the words on the screen, right? That helps too. So I might use something that I posted 2 weeks ago, put those exact same words on a different B-roll, right? That still follows the same standards. So I'm freeing up all this time. And on the surface, it might seem complicated, but realistically, the only time it's ever complicated is on step one. Once you understand exactly what you're doing, it becomes so much easier. I can make a piece of content in 5 minutes. In fact, I think I made a piece of content in 5 minutes right before I jumped on the call with you, right? But that was an old B-roll with an old piece of content that I probably did like 4 months ago, right? Because the thing that we have to get into our minds, and this is the problem, right, that you just laid out. I continuously feel like people think that they need to make brand new content in a brand new way, because if they make the exact same content, their followers are going to be like, why are you repeating the same thing? Right? When realistically, especially if you only have like 100 followers or 20 followers, like, it doesn't matter if you have 20 million followers. Our goal when we create content is to get as many eyes on it as possible. So every time we make a post, we're trying to get followers and everyone else in the world to watch it. So it doesn't matter. That's why if I sing a really, really good song and people love that song, I'm not going to sing it once. I'm going to sing it until people are tired of it. Right?
Well, and that's the beauty of recording something, is that you record it and it gets played millions of times. That's the leverage that we have. That's the opportunity that we have. And much like an artist, Mariah Carey's recorded probably hundreds of songs, but the song that I know constantly cranks out probably millions of dollars in royalties to her every year is her Christmas song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great example of how we can do that on a much smaller scale, is what you're explaining. And it's a beautiful, powerful thing that we all have at our fingertips. And like songs, the simpler the better. The simpler the tune, the better. The more catchy it is. That's what mainstream is. When they say that's a mainstream song, it's something that's catchy. It's something that's simple. It's something that people can sing. It's something that people can watch or listen to easily. And that's what I think a great piece of content nowadays really is, because our attention spans are so long that you just decrease your chances the more you complicate the piece of content. That's why even a long form show like this has a format. People know what to expect. That's why they tune into it.
Yep.
I got Kill Tony comedy show on YouTube. It's got a format. The guy's done 600 episodes or something. Been doing it for 10 years. He's got a format, 2 hours. Comedians put their name in a bucket, and he pulls them out to do a minute on stage, and then he interviews them. It's a format.
Mm-hmm.
So the longer form stuff, if you're going to get people to watch it, it's got to be engaging. But the short form stuff, the simpler it is to where somebody can, because you got to remember, I mean, if you break it down to how are people using the product, this is how they're using it.
Swipe. Yep.
So you got to be basically what they're going to do. Watch the thumb. They're going to go and then catch it, right? Mm-hmm. Catch it right there like that. See that catch right there?
Mm-hmm.
Top little catch. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? That's what you want them to do, is that little catch. Can I get a hat? That little catch. Let me demo it for you one more time. Hold on a second. Yeah, that little swipe up. Ooh, but then they catch you, right? And they say, that's Sean Sarantos. It's a funny son of a bitch. I like him. He's hilarious. Right? And then that's all it takes, right? First impression. You either are dumb and you suck and they don't want to watch, or whatever. You're just yes or no. It's like swipe culture, dating apps, right? You're nothing but that's all you are.
Yep.
And that's the kind of society that we live in. So you have to, I guess, keep that in mind when we're creating content too. We can't expect them to put a bunch of complex energy towards figuring out what our content's about, or waiting 15 seconds for us to get to the point, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I love the song because I use song references all the time as analogies, right? And I always tell people the original content that you're trying to create that others are creating is not original at all. It's 99% regurgitated content from a lot of different people, and then that 1% is the originality of what they're doing, right? So like it's like, oh, you want to create a rock song, an original rock song? No, you're not going to create an original rock song because where did rock come from, right? The genre of rock was only created after there was a lot of music that all sounded exactly the same, and then they decided to call it a genre, right? So even when you think that you're creating this original thing, you got to do repetition. You got to go through this stuff and simplify it, because by the time you go through the repetition and simplify it, you're going to realize that the original thing is just 1% you, 1% you, right? And that's why when I say, ooh, I'm going to create a piece of content right now about getting old, right? I'm going to create something about getting old because that's something that we can relate to because you just turned, 25. So we can go ahead and relate to that. But if I'm going to create a piece of content about getting old, I've created so many pieces of content about getting old, I can automatically start realizing, oh, you know what? Some of the best ones were when I started off saying like, hey, I'm at the age where, or I finally reached the age where, or I think I think we can all agree that getting older means, right? And it's repeatable hooks that have worked on some of the best pieces of content. So now I got to go like, all right, I'm good with the beginning. 90% of my stuff is done. Now I just got to come up with that last piece. And that last piece is the originality, because I tell people all the time, they'll go like, Sean, I got 2 million views on this video, but I didn't get anything from it. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you had me in the beginning. You had me in that first half, and then you lost me in the second because that little 1% that you put in sucked, right? You used the 99 that was great, that always worked all the time. Knock, knock, who's there? Oh, the joke sucked because whoever I said was there sucked, right? So that's the same thing here. I'm not. I used to be young and cool, but now I'm into air fryers. Great, that's funny, but you can't go, I used to be young and cool, and now I'm into shoelaces. That falls short. So it's like, hey, we know that this has always worked, but your shoelaces part sucked. You sucked. That little part just sucked. Everything else was good. So we just got to work on that second half. So that's what I always tell people. Original content is not original, right? It's not original. But if that second half is good, people will say you're original. People will say that you created this brand new thing, and it's like, no, we didn't. It's a regurgitated piece of something that's already worked, but you just added this really, really cool little motion of it. You know what I mean?
Well, we're all, yeah. I mean, just needing to be original is something that you should just delete from your brain at this point, because there's nothing you're going to do that's really original. But you can put your own spin and flavor, and that can even be as simple as just your own personality. Literally, well, we've seen it work. We know it works. Regurgitating things that literally people. I mean, we have seen people copy videos word for word. Do we recommend that? No. Are we the internet police, though? No. Are we the omnipotent, all-knowing ones? Yes, we run an education company, but we're not here to shame anybody or put anybody down. We're all trying to get better. If you want to pursue this entrepreneur thing, we're all trying to get a little bit better every day. And what I can say about watching your journey is you've changed, you have evolved, you've stayed in the pocket long enough, you've stayed here long enough, you started coming through the front door like everybody who's successful has to do. There's no, I didn't call you secretly and say, Sean, I've got a secret for you. I didn't even meet you until you started producing results. You're an affiliate of ours as well as a student. We asked you to come speak at our masterminds. We will probably continue to do that as long as we're all healthy. And you've earned your ability to be able to share now. You've earned that right. People listen to you. You're a respected marketer, teacher, husband, father, friend, brother. And once again, and as always, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for
we lost him.
I was gonna say, am I still on the show, or was I was gonna be?
We're live, baby. We're still live. And
His
he was
battery
giving
died.
you so much praise. It was an amazing little
I out loud,
session
I
of
out loud Dave. This is the
complimenting.
first time. That's funny. No, that's never happened.
When he's on, when I see him land join from his phone, I know we're having internet issues. So
Yeah.
we're back. We're all
that
good.
okay?
Oh, there he is.
Did you hear any of the wonderful things I said about you?
I think your phone got tired of hearing all those wonderful things. They were just like, all right, Dave, we're gonna stop this right now.
No, I know. It did. It was like, all right, don't blow. God was like, don't. I'm working on this guy right now. Don't blow him. Don't blow his. hey! God was like, I'm working on this guy, man. Don't inflate his head. Don't inflate his ego too much. No, brother. Hey, take it all in, man. Take it all in. You deserve it. I got nothing but love for you, man. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you. And you're just a good dude, man. You're a good dude, and I want nothing but the best for you. And I'm so happy for your happiness and success, dude.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that so much, man. And you know how much I love you, and I love Legendary, and I'll continue to shout it from the mountaintops. You know what I mean? There's nothing that and this is to the people watching, right? Like I don't say this because it sounds great. You have to take education and you have to do something with it, right? This is all I've done. This is all I ever did. I just took what I learned from Legendary and I've taken it step by step to grow to where it's at. So don't neglect the education, but you got to understand that you have to put things into practice, and you have to practice them, and you have to test them out. This is a time-consuming thing, but man, if you can stick with it, there is so much light at the end of the tunnel. It's ridiculous. And the only reason why people fail is because they don't have the patience. If you have the consistency and patience, you're going to pass. Like I tell that to people all the time. So just ask the questions. One of the biggest things that people do not do is they do not take advantage of the community, right? So take advantage of the community. Yes, the answer is in the education, but you might have to ask a question to get help finding the answer. If you can't find the answer, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It exists. It's in there. But you gotta start engaging, or else you're gonna get lost.
Yeah, man. Use it so you don't lose it, and it's there for you. Everything that everybody knows is, I know it's in our education, and anybody inside of our comforter community will help you to find that you need. You're right. You got to ask. You got to put your hand up. Listen, brother. Have a great Monday and a great Thanksgiving. Okay.
You too,
And
man.
that beautiful family that you have, my friend, that you earned and you deserve, and now you have lots of time to spend with them, probably to the point of wanting to maybe
I need some time away from them. I need to take a vacation.
Yeah. Maybe the opposite is true at this point, but either way, soak it all up, enjoy it, and we'll talk to you really soon. Okay.
Yes, sir. Have a great one. Happy birthday, man.
All right, buddy. Thanks. All right, my friends, you can find Sean over at Sean Sarantos on Instagram. Sean Sarantos over on Instagram. Sean _Sarantos on Instagram. Sean _Sarantos on Instagram. And I believe he's Sean Sarantos on TikTok with no underscore. My friends, as you may know, we've released the new Confidence Challenge. As of now, it is live. It's in a soft launch right now, kind of just opening the doors, word of mouth. Get in there. It's really, really, really powerful, really special. That's my birthday wish for all of you. Go through that. A lot of the things that we talked about today, I know it will help you with. It's brand new. It's hot, and the feedback is really, really powerful. With that being said, get out of here. Have a great Monday. We'll see you back here tomorrow for another episode. As always, thank you, Sean, for an amazing show. And thank you all for being an amazing audience, an amazing community, the best in the business. We love you all. Get out of here. Peace.